Hello and welcome to Antheneum sponsored webinar, New Tech Sector Opportunities, Key Trends to Watch Out For. I'm your host, Stella Nikolova, the Global Marketing Manager here at Antheneum. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to share some general information. First, this webinar is being recorded and can be made available upon request. And if you have questions, please enter them into the question box in your navigation panel, and we will address them during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. No matter what industry you call home, technology is rapidly changing the way you do business. From industrial manufacturing to consumer experience, our world is evolving and the tech sector is the mechanism pushing us forward. So how should we prepare? In this webinar, Mr. Craig Crawford discusses the trends within the tech sector and how these translate to your business both internally and externally. The key topics to be addressed are technology sector outlook, key trends, growth drivers, and disruptive innovations. What does this mean for big business? How these trends can be an opportunity and add value, and what challenges we may face as we move forward. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter, Mr. Craig Crawford. With 30 years experience as an IT strategist for global fashion brands, he is often referred to as the right brain of IT, making decisions that change the face of information technology with improved business connectivity through digital innovation. Founder of Crawford IT, a London-based well-known consultancy, Craig guides solutions for the connected world in the luxury retail sector. Thank you so much for joining us today, Craig.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to sharing with you some of my views on the technology sector outlook, where things are and where things are going. And I'm going to start really with Generation Me. From selfies to being self-absorbed, the millennials have been called the me generation that fashion brands like Burberry have listened to and learned from, catered to, and wooed. I remember Burberry's former CEO, Angela Ahrendts, who's now at Apple, saying that the millennials are a new generation who've grown up in the digital era. They're social and they speak digital. And she was right. It's very important to keep your eyes on both your current consumer and your future one. Brands know that they need to speak digital and be digital in order to survive. And at Burberry, we did that through a number of initiatives that empowered the consumer and the employee to trust and connect with the brand and with each other. And here's a sobering thought if you disagree with this approach. Since 2000, more than half of the Fortune 500 companies ceased to exist for failing to adopt a digital business model. Now, in fashion, to create the future, we look back. So to provide a bit of context and framework for today's webinar, I'd like to share some history. History, by the way, which is only 2 years old. And in traditional IT methodology, that's just the lifespan of only one enterprise deployment. In 2013, mobile web browsing overtook desktop browsing globally. We call that the mobile moment. Today, 51% of U.S. adults and 43% of the adults in the United Kingdom are now super connected. That means we are accessible during the waking day across multiple devices. There's no turning back. This is behavior we cannot unlearn. In the digital space, all executives, managers, and junior professionals have one thing in common. We are all digital explorers. We use digital tools to navigate our world. We are not monolithic. I share this chart because it's no longer just the millennials or digital natives driving our technology. So whether we are a digital native, a digital immigrant, a digital integrator, or a digital alien, we spend a lot of time on mobile devices. In fact, almost twice our digital time is on mobile. Those of you in London will appreciate this, as culturally, people text instead of making phone calls, and people walk with screens in front of their faces rather than actually looking up. In fact, now, since 2013, we spend almost twice our digital time on mobile than we do on a desktop. Now, we use our mobile devices in different contexts. My friends at Somo have put this gorgeous slide together. that illustrate how our smartphones are always on. They're location aware, and we use them both before and after work, and a little bit at work. The use of mobile in the workplace, though, has until recently been employee-driven, and so we're sort of expected that when we get to work, we put our phones down, and somehow we're tethered to our desks. That is going to change. When we get home, if we aren't on our smartphones, we're on our tablets, and many of us use multiple screens at work and at home. And we own a lot of smartphones. The map on the left shows in percentages how much of the population of each country owns mobile devices. And the map on the right shows the percentage of smartphone ownership. So if we compare the two, in both the United States and in the United Kingdom, 80% of the population own mobile devices. And of that 80%, 74% are smartphones. The smartphone's personal. It's our emotional glue to our world at both home and at work. We are way past blurring the physical and the digital. We are instead integrating the two. And think about this. Our smartphones have enough processing power to put man on the moon 120 million times, literally. That's how fast computing power has grown, and it will continue to do so. And for emerging markets, smartphones are actually becoming the infrastructure where no infrastructure exists. Over recent years, you've probably had your teams focus on social, mobile, cloud, e-commerce, and in-commerce in order to become digital. And like most, this was probably more digital on the outside than on the inside. After all, it's the consumer who pays the bills, and so that's who we've all focused on. But as consumers, let's face it, we don't care what channel we shop through. We just want to buy. It's our companies that think in channels. Brands must think like their customers to create seamless shopping experiences that keep customers engaged at all stages. Brands need to be able to take an omni-channel approach, a customer-centric approach towards retail by making sure their products are available across platforms. Investing in the technology or partners to seamlessly distribute products will be a core differentiator for brand success. Clearly in retail, we've had to take an omni-channel approach that puts the customer first. We've had to become digitally externally because the me generation expects a customer-centric approach. 89% of business leaders surveyed by Gartner believe that customer experience will be their primary basis for competition by next year. So it's all about me, or is it really all about me? Because when you think about it, me is more than selfies and being self-absorbed. Me is really about that experience. And me is about sharing that experience. It's about belonging, being a part of and being included and being embraced. And digital is that connector. And the smartphone is rapidly becoming the technology that keeps this in motion. When we are super or hyper-connected, me becomes we. Leaders in this digital era are recognizing this. In their 2015 Technology Vision Report, Accenture called this the Internet of Me, which is then creating what they call a we economy. The Internet of Me puts placing the end user at the center of every digital experience. Think my playlist, my wish list, my connected home, and my connected car. But at the same time, this enables a different business model that shifts the focus from selling things to selling results. The we, or the outcome economy, is what Accenture calls this. So being digital is no longer about incorporating technologies into an organization. It's about using digital to reach customers, partners, employees, and interestingly enough, other industries. This important shift allows business to create digital ecosystems and industry networks that proactive companies will use to create new destinies. It should therefore come as no surprise that software and services will rule while hardware and outsourcing is going to slow down. New mobile, cloud, and analytics technologies are tilting the tech market away from hardware and classic outsourcing and towards software and related services. Advances in cloud, mobile platforms, and application development are eliminating the technological and cost barriers that are often associated with digital industry platforms. Nearly 40% of those surveyed by Accenture this year reported industry platforms to integrate data and applications with digital business partners and to collaborate with those partners, while another 35% said they are already experimenting with industry platforms. According to International Data Corporation, IDC, there'll be more than 100 new digital industry platforms from non-tech companies as early as next year. APIs, the digital secret sauce, the application programming interfaces, are allowing companies to open up their data and platforms for others to develop applications on and to create value. Now, there's no such thing as no design. There's only good or bad design. User experience and user interface are now more important than ever, especially since the devices we use are highly fragmented. From newer and more natural user interfaces to smarter devices and machines, improvements in intelligent technology are enabling teams of humans and machines to collaborate more easily and more effectively than ever before, and empowering them to do more together than they could ever do alone. So it should be no surprise then that tech spend is going to go up. Now, tech purchases generally consist of two parts. The first is spending to maintain and operate the tech organization, the systems and equipment, on which spending has recently dominated, as cost-cutting rather than revenue generation has been the focus for IT. The second type of spending for new tech projects and initiatives in recent years has been modest, as firms have held back in launching major new tech projects due to uncertain business outcomes. But an optimistic focus on revenue will now drive business technology investment up. That is, a spend on technology, systems, and processes to win, serve, and retain customers. So expect to see new project spend rising in many countries next year. This year, Accenture reports that 62% of those surveyed reported they are investing in digital technologies. 35% are comprehensively investing in digital as part of their overall business strategy. And Forrester predicts a growth of 6.3% next year in business and government purchases of computer and communications equipment, software, and tech consulting and outsourcing services. And it's expected that the U.S. tech market will set the pace for the rest of the world next year as well. Not only does the U.S. have the largest country-level tech market, it's expected to have one of the fastest 2016 growth rates at 6.1%. U.S. businesses and governments are also leaders in adopting new mobile, cloud, and analytics technologies. Among other large tech markets, China, India, Sweden, and Israel are expected to have strong growth, while Brazil, Mexico, Japan, and Russia may lag. So what are the key trends, the growth drivers, and the disruptive innovations in this new tech sector? Excuse me, here are some of the headlines, and there's a lot of headlines. Location-based technology is changing retail. Big data and beacons play a factor here, connecting online, in-app, and in-store experiences. Beacons provide businesses with endless opportunities to collect massive amounts of untapped data, such as customer dwell time in a particular location within a specified time and a specified data range, or busiest hours throughout the day or the week, or the number of people who walk by a location each day. Retailers can then make improvements to products, staff allocation in various departments and services, and they can also improve capacity. The beacons combined with CRM, customer relationship management data, open the door to new forms of engagement like understanding loyalty programs and better customer service, because you can surface purchase history and other data, such as wish lists, in real time where it's needed, on the shop floor when the customer is in the store. So look out for location-based retail technology. Omnichannel is really one channel, and brands that aren't digital on the inside suffer from siloed ways of working. We must offer endless aisle where all products are available to consumers through any channel, regardless of where physical inventory is stored. And we need to deliver the same experience online and in store. We can expect mobile payments to skyrocket, up to 8% in the coming year. Currently, nearly 15% of Starbucks customers already pay with their phones, and 60% of their customers use their smartphones to pay for things because of loyalty benefits. Apple's introduction of Apple Pay will be the key factor that drives this up. And you can already use Apple Pay on your phone on the London Underground. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have lost value, but they have taught us to think differently about money. And it should be no surprise that the future of search and SEM is outside of Google. And now 88% of consumers are influenced by customer and other consumer online comments. Okay, so that is a lot to think about. And if that's not enough, here's Gartner's view on emerging technologies. And I have to tell you, I love this chart. It makes me laugh, and I'm probably going to laugh as I go through this. So it starts with an innovation trigger, and we work our way up to the peak of inflated expectations. Once over that, we slide down to the trough of disillusionment, from which over time we rise to the slope of enlightenment until we reach the plateau of productivity. Oh, it's so funny. It's just like life. Anyway, here we see, plotted against this plateau and valley, there are a number of 2015 trends. And the steep and slippery slope of expectations and reality is what we all have to go through. Not really. I put this here because it's important that we do the following things. We don't lose sight of the big picture. We don't get caught up in the trends. We always look at the higher vision. It's about making the channel experience seamless across devices because all solutions are relevant. What we're aiming for here is a connected world, not small connected bubbles. So let's put this chart aside, as humorous as it may be, and bear in mind where we've come from and where we are today. With that in mind, here are my top 3 key disruptors: the Internet of Things, data and personalization, and the concept that ownership is dead. Let's start with the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is actually going to become the Internet of everything, and I can hear some of you saying, what are you even talking about? I can barely grasp the concept of the Internet of Things. But by 2020, the number of devices connected to the Internet is expected to exceed 40 billion. Retailers, for example, are shaping IoT applications that recognize customers in stores, provide them customized offers, and then redeploy staff to restock inventory and eliminate long waits at checkouts. Manufacturers are developing IoT solutions to gain visibility into supply chains so that they can be managed as seamless end-to-end processes. The advance of IoT applications will drive exponential growth in the consumption of sensors, bandwidth, storage, computing power, and analytics. Mobile platforms combined with geolocation services will continue to bring everyday people and businesses together to interact with trust and efficiency, serving as facilitators. Now, the Internet of Things dominates device uptake worldwide. So digital is moving from a finite number of screens, your computer, your tablet, your phone, to a network of billions of devices connected to each other via the Internet. These devices will communicate with each other to streamline processes, both on a consumer level, a wearable device sharing health information with a doctor, for example, and on a city level, such as sensors for the weather, for traffic, for combustion, pollution. This is becoming a force driving innovation and opportunity by bringing objects, consumers, and activities together via digital. Simultaneously, businesses are changing or making similar changes within the enterprise. We're digitizing information about employees, we're digitizing our processes, our products, and our services. And this puts us in a place where we have the potential to touch all aspects of our business, our customer relationships, and our employees. We also have the potential to tie into a global network of businesses, individuals, and things from every industry around the world. This network of connections and its transformational power introduces a brand new era. Accenture are calling it the age of digital ecosystems. Pioneering companies see the implications of tapping into a digital ecosystem, and that in such digitally driven, hyper-connected times, we actually have capacity beyond transforming ourselves into digital businesses. 81% of those surveyed by Accenture last year believe that in the future, industry boundaries will dramatically blur as platforms reshape industries into interconnected ecosystems. As a result of the Internet of Things, more detailed levels of data are going to be available. This high level of data will allow brands to streamline consumer experiences, iron out inefficiencies in their own systems, and respond to customer trends quickly. Companies are now actively creating connected worlds in which their customer preferences, habits, and contacts are woven together to make daily experiences simple, delightful, and personal. It's beyond mimicking customer intimacy, like online ads that reflect your searches or purchases. Instead, it's about authenticity and meaning to an individual. Every experience is becoming a digital experience as ordinary things become intelligent devices. Today, there are digital parking meters, smart refrigerators, adaptive security systems, etc., etc. These digital devices enable personalized experiences. There are smart lights at home that can react to environmental factors to provide individual user experiences. Cars can fine-tune their performance by learning the driver's habits. Whole sports stadiums have been brought online so individual event goers can be alerted to shorter lines, offered engaging content, or notified of flash sales on nearby food and merchandise. We are generating huge amounts of data. 90% of the world's data has been generated over the last 2 years. 90%. Think about that. According to Eric Schmidt of Google, every 2 days, we create now as much information as we did from the dawn of civilization up until 2003. That is circa like 5 exabytes of data. Technology is moving at an unprecedented pace. In fact, speed is the new currency. IT needs to gather this data. Brand marketeers, merchandisers, sales associates, they need to harness its power and work in new ways to establish meaningful relationships with consumers in real time with true dialogue. Social media 1.0 is dead. It has officially evolved to the next stage. Real-time and content marketing become more sophisticated and portable. Social is the key hub for customer experiences. Messaging apps become the new social media. And this time it's personal. As everyday objects go online, so too do experiences, creating an abundance of digital channels that reach deep into every aspect of individual lives. Our digital world is becoming very personal. Now, forward-thinking businesses are changing the ways they build new applications, products, and services. To gain control over these points of access, they are creating highly personalized experiences that engage and exhilarate consumers without breaching the consumer's trust. And according to Accenture, the companies that succeed in this new Internet of Me will become the next generation of household names. Mass personalization and full funnel marketing, targeting the correct audience, nurturing that audience, and then evaluating the results, reset the landscape and change how brands think and work. When you combine full funnel marketing with new experience cloud suites, we unite marketing, service, and CRM. New ad tech companies will focus on strategy and programmatic content and ads. Publishers will offer capabilities for behaviorally programmatic targeting of premium advertising. It's not just about technology or data alone. This involves people performing analysis. Consider Deezer, the musical service that uses algorithms and people to create your personal playlist. We love how the internet allows each of us to personalize our digital lives. My newsfeed, my playlist, my book recommendations, my new car, customized online by me. And now we no longer need to own many of the things we personalize because, well, ownership is dead. Streamlining services for TV and music are just the beginning of a shift from owning content to receiving content as a service. Think Netflix, Apple TV, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, Deezer. It's about the experience and the emotion, not the ownership. It's about sharing. The sharing economy is really about renting and borrowing. A lot will become on demand and available through mobile apps that connect idle and new supplies with new or organized demand. The move away from ownership can be seen in new business models like Uber or Airbnb. More people lease cars than buy them, and enterprises are thinking the same way about platforms and hardware. With technology moving so fast, it may make more sense to rent products and upgrade more quickly than owning products for decades. At Burberry, we used to say, commoditize technologies that do not differentiate the brand and invest in those that do. Why, for example, manage email? So what does this really mean for big business? Well, the expanding digital ecosystem could lead to some pretty big wins. Essentially, disruptors like data, the Internet of Things, and services can lead to greater efficiency for big business. If these trends are embraced and executed correctly, businesses will be able to increase productivity without increasing their input of workers or of capital or importing more resource. With machines talking to each other, inefficiencies in production chains and even in consumer-facing businesses like retail can be ironed out. Taking the previous retail example further, a retail business tracking customer movements, the customer's online wish list, and their purchase history and their calendar appointments could then make extremely targeted offers at the appropriate time and place to increase conversion much more effectively than current marketing techniques. In fact, I am working with several brands in the United Kingdom who are doing just that. However, optimizing these trends will be a challenge for businesses, and failing to provide a comprehensive response to this new digital landscape will mean other brands will get ahead. Consumers' expectations will adapt to meet new, better brand services, and brands that don't meet these expectations will suffer. This, while challenging, is really, in my opinion, though, the low-hanging fruit. Go beyond transactions to create digital relationships at scale. We need to rethink digital strategies to move beyond e-commerce and marketing. While mobile technology, social networks, and content-based services have increased the number of digital connections we have with our consumers, most of us are still creating more detailed views of consumers, their attributes, and their transaction. Now, individually, these connections represent new user experiences, even new sets of sales channels, but that's not the real opportunity. Taken as a whole, digital represents a key new approach to consumer engagement and loyalty. We can manage relationships with consumers at scale. Recently, I attended a Salesforce conference in London, and I heard Ulrich Niehammer from Coca-Cola proclaim that the most dangerous place to make a decision is in the office. Make decisions at the point where it matters, he told us. And he admitted to running his business mostly off of his phone. And quite frankly, I work almost exclusively off of mine and have done that for some time. Companies must start making technology more approachable and usable to a broader set of employees. We need to rethink the way our employees work. Mobile and social networking has breathed new life into collaboration. Employees' new mobile and social behaviors and their growing expectations that every app will be social and mobile are pushing us to create new user experiences. However, to increase productivity, we have to look beyond standalone social and collaborative channels and begin to embed them directly into our core business processes. The new approach is to build social and collaborative applications throughout the enterprise, using new hardware and software across multiple devices and systems. At Burberry, we call this the office of the future, where hot desking, mobile phones, tablets, and social collaboration platforms replaced fixed offices, desk phones, and PC towers with thick screens and green screen ERP interfaces. So, how can these trends be an opportunity and add value? Visionary companies are recognizing that as every business becomes a digital business, Together, they can affect change on a much bigger stage. Governments are recognizing this too. Working together, we can shape experiences and outcomes in ways never before possible. As technology advances and expands into new formats, connected devices, wearables, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and robotics, and so forth, it becomes more useful for solving large-scale problems. Now, governments worldwide have recognized this and are turning their focus and their money to technological solutions for their problems. Over the past decade, heads of government from all over the world have shared their visions for the Internet of Things. China's sixth premier called it the wisdom of the earth. In India, it was declared the path to zero defect, zero effect manufacturing. And in Britain, David Cameron described it as a huge transformative development, the brink of a new industrial revolution. And government investment matches this sentiment. The EU has invested more than 145 million US dollars into the Internet of Things projects between 2007 and 2013, including the production of smart cities that will be living laboratories for testing technology. The newest EU program will invest 88 billion US dollars in researching how technology can address societal challenges. In the UK, 113 million US dollars have been put towards researching in the Internet of Things, as well as offering grants for startups specializing in the Internet of Things and smart cities. And I've been lucky enough to participate in some of this smart city work in London's Canary Wharf. The mind reels. It is impressive. China's created an 807 million US dollar plan to support the Internet of Things industry and a 603 billion US dollar investment in the machine-to-machine ecosystem. And just this year alone in South Korea, the government is investing 934 million US dollars to fund the growth of the Internet of Things, smart cars, intelligent robots, wearables, 5G, and semiconductors. This rapidly growing industrial Internet of Things has companies using these connections to offer new services, to reshape experience, and enter new markets by creating digital ecosystems. Let's look at Japan as an example. The aging population there, a problem which many countries are facing, has led to fewer workers available to fill jobs and more strain on companies and the government to provide pensions and social support for the silver generation. Using technology like robots and machine-to-machine communication can increase efficiency and productivity, solve worker shortages, and reduce costs in the long term for companies. Glory Limited has introduced 19 robots worth about 60,000 US dollars each to its assembly line. Now, these robots work alongside 370 factory workers to produce made-to-order automatic change dispensers. And in March 2016, the residents of Fujisawa, which is near Tokyo, will be able to ride in driverless taxis to get to their shopping destinations as part of a test initiative. If the trials are successful, driverless taxis could be used to ferry around spectators of the 2020 Olympics in areas with poor public transportation. The taxis are also a potential solution to the high number of elderly citizens who are no longer able to drive. Two more examples: the Uberization of logistics and the connected medical world. This year has been a very interesting one for Uber in Asia. When you think about it, Uber is a marketplace with crowdsourcing at its core. But really, it's just an app. Now Amazon is already testing deliveries via Uber in parts of Asia, and Uber has partnered with Keels and e-commerce to distribute Keels products to Uber riders in Bangkok. In the Philippines, Uber joined forces with LBC Express, Philippines' largest cargo and logistics firm, to deliver Christmas presents on demand. In addition, Uber is going to receive 600 million US dollars from China's Baidu to drive its Asia expansion. All of this funding will inevitably increase competition in the core business of ride-sharing, but it will also accelerate innovation in areas such as logistics and deliveries. With an underdeveloped logistics infrastructure across most of Southeast Asia, companies like Uber will be much better positioned to create value via deliveries in this region. So it makes sense. They have the tech and the cars, and the logistics demand is there. So if there aren't enough passengers, why not fill up time by doing deliveries? Should FedEx and UPS be concerned? Well, I think so. Companies that begin their reinvention now will benefit from applications that can adapt to the pace of business, manage rising complexity, and open doors to more interconnected business environments. Leading companies are no longer thinking only about using technology to transform themselves into digital businesses. They are also thinking about how to combine their industry expertise with the power of digital technology to reshape their markets and define their new role in this we economy. Here's another example, Philips, the producer of medical equipment. Teaming up with Salesforce, they're building a platform they believe will reshape and optimize healthcare. Fostering collaboration between doctors, patients, and other care providers, and integrating data from multiple global services and mobile devices, I said that, but I want to reiterate that, patient healthcare is improved with better doctor decisions and active patient engagement. Now marry that to tech like Apple's HealthKit and the personal mobile devices, and suddenly modern medicine becomes revolutionized. Change on a global scale. Now this isn't easy, but the potential for reward is tremendous. It's even staggering. The digital ecosystem isn't only about changing an individual company. It's about shaping entire markets. Every enterprise can determine its own fortune, and that's an opportunity that none of us want to miss. So what challenges may we face as we move forward? Well, here are what I think are the top three. Security, actually reaching customers, and infrastructure management. Let's face it, privacy's gone. It was traded for perceived security and also better customer experiences, at least by the younger generation who use privacy as currency. Sure, some rules around this are playing out in some of the courts. Europe's highest court ruled in May of 2014 that citizens have a right to be forgotten and that search engines, including Google, must honor requests from users to delete links to personal information. European regulators have since called on Google to apply the right to be forgotten ruling beyond the borders of the EU. But that is not making your enterprise secure. In the age of hyper-connected Internet of Things, cybersecurity becomes paramount. As more data is shared between consumer, government, and brand, robust security is needed to ensure that data is protected. Data leaks today can be damaging, but when detailed information is available on a single platform about a customer's every movement, preference, personal connection, a leak could be catastrophic. An active defense means adapting existing cybersecurity defenses. Despite the increased focus on securing the digital business, IT departments still struggle to keep pace with advances in security technology. Brands know that endpoint security is not enough, but the move to active defense, risk-based approaches to security management, analytics-driven event detection, and reflex like incident response isn't happening on a broad scale. Although security technologies are maturing rapidly and communities are forming to expose the risk, the biggest barrier is the slow adoption of solutions that already exist. IT's core challenge: get current with best practices in security, get smarter about the new active defense possibilities, and get real about the journey ahead. Challenge number 2, reaching customers. As the everyday comes online, smart objects, devices, and machines, we increase our insight into and control over the physical world. This new connected intelligence augments employees, automates processes, and incorporates machines into our lives in a very meaningful way. In addition to being highly informed, consumers can interact and influence the way they experience everything around them. For their part, organizations now get real-time connections to the real world that allows machines as well as employees to act and react faster and more intelligently. Matching the speed of decision to the speed of action and the merge of the digital to the physical is tough for business. With the tsunami of data that's coming at us, the pace at which we can gather, sort, analyze, and act is a real challenge. The expectation of near-instant or real-time response is becoming the norm, and data velocity is what gains the competitive edge. The data supply chain, if you will, is vastly underutilized, partly because data technology has until now been adopted in a piecemeal way. So while data technologies are rapidly evolving, current enterprise data ecosystems are overly complex and littered with data silos, limiting the exploitation of value. In other words, the data is hard to get at quickly. We need to think of data as another supply chain and enable it to flow easily and smoothly throughout our entire organization and even our ecosystems of partners to truly unlock its value. The rise of artificial intelligence is significant and necessary to all of this, but as I mentioned before, it cannot work alone. It works to complement human capabilities. For consumers, this provides new levels of empowerment. The rapid advances in technology have led to equally rapid changes in consumer behavior. Numerous trends like showrooming, web rooming, and social location services have been and gone over the past few years as consumers have constantly altered their behavior. Adapting to these quick changes in activity will be difficult for brands, but vital to make sure that brands stay relevant. As well as these changes, brands will have to accommodate societal changes in their consumer engagement plans. Not only are we seeing the rise of Gen Z or Gen Z, a digital-savvy, brand-savvy generation, but thanks to many countries' aging populations, the silver consumer is also important, especially given their disposable income. Marketing to all of these generations and those in between will require vastly different strategies, all in real or near time across all touch points of our brand. Our third big challenge is infrastructure management, and I have a lot to say here, so please bear with me. While the Internet of Technology and the data it produces is revolutionizing the way we live our lives, it can only reach its fullest potential if the correct systems are in place. Back-end systems to manage and analyze the data are vital, and so are platforms to manage and orchestrate the way connected devices communicate with each other. An even bigger challenge may also lie in getting businesses and brands to work together to enable a truly connected world instead of small, separate, connected bubbles. We must architect resilience in the age of the nonstop business. In this digital era, businesses are expected to support the nonstop demands that employees and stakeholders place on processes, services, and systems. A shift to support ever-changing priorities has ripple effects throughout the enterprise, but perhaps felt more so in IT. Always-on IT infrastructure, security, and business process economics can mean the difference between business as usual and the erosion of brand value. Today's IT must ensure that systems are designed to survive failure rather than designed to spec. As consumers, we expect high-bandwidth Wi-Fi everywhere. Why five-star hotels still charge for it baffles me, especially since it's free on the London Underground. When consumers shop for mobile phone providers, data plan is the new comparison barometer, not number of phone minutes. Businesses need to keep up. According to Cisco, by next year, traffic from wireless and mobile devices will be 54% of all traffic, exceeding traffic from wired devices. By 2018, global fixed broadband speeds will reach an average of 42 megs per second, up from 16 megs in 2013. The rise of cloud storage is similar, and that probably doesn't surprise us, given that most of us on this call probably use a cloud service like iCloud or Dropbox or WeTransfer in our personal digital lives, and dare I say it, we probably use it at work too, whether it's sanctioned or not. Most digital industry professionals will run on lead industry platforms, so I'm going to repeat that. Most digital industry platforms will run on leading software as a service and platform as a service foundations, like Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Salesforce.com. And in recent years, software as a service and platform as a service providers have rapidly matured and now support market-level digital business initiatives, including digital industry platforms. Now that's good news for non-tech companies that may not be poised to develop their own technology platform from scratch, but frightening for those still struggling with the concept. There's more good news. Alongside the rapid growth of data is the plummeting cost of storing it. enabling companies to maintain vast databases that can later be used to uncover analytical value. In fact, over the past 30 years, the cost per gigabyte of hard disk data storage has halved every 14 months. In 1980, it cost $400,000, and in 2013, it cost 5 cents or 5 pence. Cloud services have another advantage: incredible computing power, allowing companies to analyze big data at scale. So we must design our infrastructure, virtual or real, for analytics. Business leaders need the right data to effectively define the strategic direction of the enterprise. The current generation of software is designed for functionality, but the next generation must also be designed for analytics. Now, with virtualized servers and storage, IT now needs to turn its attention to virtualizing the network in order to extend the life of their infrastructure and reap the full value of these and other virtualization investments. Like other virtualization technologies, software-defined networking, SDN, can radically change the flexibility with which business operates. Please do not underestimate the transformative power of this. SDN allows a business to fulfill the vision of a truly dynamic enterprise. Now, this is not to say that your existing hardware is going to go away. The challenge is to keep up with the hardware innovation as the demand soars. Harnessing hyperscale should be the new mantra, with bigger, faster, efficient data centers when appropriate. Lastly, and again mimicking consumer technology, companies are quickly moving from applications to apps. Yes, there will always be big, complex enterprise software systems to support large organizations, which IT designers and developers will need to keep customizing, providing updates to, and patches, etc., etc. But as enterprises strive for operational agility, there is a sharp shift towards simple, modular apps. So the challenge is, who internally will do this, and how will IT transform the methods of application development they currently use? The way we build software has changed. APIs are our digital glue. Once just part of a developer's toolkit, APIs are now vital for the digital industry platforms. Standardization and consideration of private and public APIs are vital. Now, although private APIs are a good first step for focusing expertise and operational efficiencies, they have limited strategic impact. Partner APIs are partially open, but still partner-controlled environments involving named and dedicated players. Public API programs attract the broadest range of digital business partners, developers, and co-innovators for the greatest potential returns. However, they require that the enterprise have a platform, architecture, and governance model that not only can scale with unlimited API use, but also can support a broad range of developers and use cases. The keys to the kingdom lie with the IT architect. The DBA is now evolving into this role. Connected devices allow interaction when there is an ecosystem of enterprise strength applications. The difference now from what we've seen before is the speed of change. The velocity of mobile adoption is twice as fast as the internet, 3 times faster than social media, and 10 times faster than the PC. This has created a consumer-driven environment of which smartphones and tablets are only a small part as we start the adoption velocity of the Internet of Things. We are now in a hyper-connected world where companies, consumers, and even everyday objects have instant capabilities to act and interact with each other digitally across the globe. We are racing towards a completely digital lifestyle. As businesses, we must think and act differently to succeed in this new environment. A single idea, a single technology, or a single organization will no longer be the key to our success. High performers of the future will be those who position themselves at the center of the emerging digital ecosystem. Have you really considered what role your company plays in this next digital phase? As we move to Q&A, I'd like to point out the image that I've chosen here. It's from Apps for Good. Apps for Good is a global nonprofit that puts teaching code and computer sciences in the classrooms of teenagers and teenagers. This is this year's award winners. These are your future employees. And at 9 years old, some of these kids are creating apps that are already impacting our digital world. Thank you so much for your time. I think we have time for a few questions.
Great. Thank you very much for this great presentation and your insights. Yeah, we have a few more minutes and there are some good questions came in, so thank you all. Let me start with the first one. So what emerging market should we have our eyes on right now? Craig?
That's a very good question. And oh yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. That's a very good question. And probably difficult to answer. I would say it's not necessarily one particular market, but more about what's happening in places. I'll give an example, like Africa. So in Africa, where the infrastructure is in parts of Africa, not all of Africa, banks, for example, are not prolific, and that infrastructure, financial infrastructure, is being built. But mobile phones are prolific. And by buying minutes on your mobile phone, you can actually trade those in now for product. So mobile phones and the use of mobile phones, those minutes are becoming currency. And I think it's places like that that we need to look at. We need to look at these unusual ways to apply what we already have to create new markets. So I would say that's one to definitely look at. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. So in your opinion, how can businesses embrace technological advancements to optimize success?
I think the biggest things businesses can do to do this is to start by reviewing their internal organization. Look at your people. How are you structured? It is so hard to join up departments. I know we think we do. I think people struggle with joining up anyway, and I think that's what's so exciting about this technology. But joining up departments, thinking about joining up departments like your creative department in IT or your marketing department in IT or all of these departments is a big challenge. By doing that, we can then say, what is it we're looking to solve? What strategically are we looking to do? And that collaboration then really allows us to embrace the technology. It's not going after the technology just for technology's sake.
Thank you. Let's keep moving to the next questions. Actually, they're related to the Internet of Things. So the first one is, do you believe there are things that shouldn't be connected? And if so, why?
Yes, I do, I suppose. We're not going to connect things to the internet just to connect them. They need to have meaning and value. And what comes to mind is the toaster. Why would we connect our toaster to the Internet of Things? But then I probably shouldn't use that as an example because perhaps the manufacturers of Pop-Tarts and toaster waffles would find benefit in understanding how frequently that they're used. So although it wouldn't add meaning to my life, it might add to someone else's. But yes, we do need to be sensible about connecting things. What is the purpose? What is the benefit? How does it change or improve our lives? Remember, it goes back to meaning and authenticity.
Thank you. And the last question is, how would you respond to those who say that the Internet of Things is causing and will continue to cause job losses?
Well, I think that's a fear-based reaction to something that's new, to be honest with you. I don't believe that jobs will be lost. I do believe that skill sets will change. Perhaps tasks will change from people to automation in some instances, but we need people to perform analytics. We need people to look after those machines. So I don't think that we lose jobs. I think instead what we find is a transference of skills. And in the job market, there are new skills. I remember when I was a textile designer, when I started my career at the Gap many years ago, I taught continuing professional education at Parsons School of Design, and I taught computer-aided design for textile designers. And I had so many people come and take my class because as textile designers, they didn't know anything about computers, and they were very worried that they were going to lose their jobs. if they didn't know computers, because computers were going to do all of the designing. And that wasn't true. We still need designers. The computer just became another tool set, just like an artist will have watercolors or gouache, pastels, or charcoal pencils. The computer became another method of rendering something and complementary to. So I don't see losing jobs. I just see additional skills and a transference of those skills into something different.
Great. Thank you very much for being with us today, and I would like to thank everyone for joining us. I kindly invite you to fill out a 30 seconds feedback survey right after the webinar. Your feedback is valuable to us, and thank you in advance, and wish you all a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the participation and for listening. Have a great day.